All right, guys, what is up? Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Breakfast with the Brand, the number one podcast in the world for entrepreneurs like you who want to go to the next level. My name is Junior Frederick, and I am your host, and I am joined by the man himself, Mr. Bobby Stealth. And today we'll be getting into the art and the science of branding, and of course, a few other phenomenal things. Bobby, how you doing?
Junior, I'm doing phenomenal, brother. I'm absolutely excited because last night was crazy. It was crazy, but it was also enlightening. So I was humbled by the experience. Those that don't know what we're talking about, we had a webinar last night, and that thing was fire. Like we talked about everything from what it takes to build a brand to what it takes to build $1 million brand and how you can do that on a social media platform. So I'm feeling very humbled this morning, like, wow, there's so much that this organization has done. There's so much that I still have to learn. There's so many people that we still have to help. So extremely humbled, extremely honored to be on this morning.
100%. Yeah, I mean, anytime Shaan does an event, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Bobby, Shaan is actually one of the, and I'm not just saying this because I know Shaan, but Shaan is actually one of the best speakers I know, one of the best presenters I know, period. One of the best presenters I've seen. Like when it comes to giving presentations, whether it's online, offline, definitely. He's phenomenal at that. He's great at many things, but definitely when it comes to presentations, um, there are very few people that I've seen that could, present as good as Shaan. So it was great to witness as usual. Of course, we had some phenomenal people putting their flames in the chat. If you're listening to us this morning and you were there, go ahead and let us know. Go ahead and let us know. Yes, sir. But today we're gonna be getting into a couple of things, Bobby. One of the things that I really wanted to touch on is if we have time,
Yeah.
of course, you want to look at turning Facebook into your bank book, right? So we're going to follow up from yesterday's theme. But one thing that has been on my mind as of recently is what we call total self recreation. Total self recreation, which means that basically deciding who you're going to be. Or in fact, here's how I used to say it before, Bobby. So I used to say, maybe about 2 years ago, I used to always say that you have to be so you can become. So you have to be so you can become, meaning that you have to step into the mindset, into the ethos of the person that you would like to become, and then you actually become that person. You have to be so you can become. So that's sort of what's on my mind. What about you?
Man, I'm in the same energy, Junior. I'm in the same energy because I believe that, how do they say it? Pride precedes the fall. Pride precedes the fall. And what that means is that the moment we get full of ourselves, the moment we feel like we know it all, the moment we start becoming arrogant, that's when we fall. That's when we get humbled by either life or ourselves. We get so big and full of ourselves that we end up ruining what we've built. And I'm in that state where I think humility is one of the first steps to self-recreation. Is saying, okay, I've gotten really good at this, or I've gotten really good at a few things, but I can do better. Who do I need to be in order to take things to the next level? And that, I think, is exactly where I'm at right now. A state of humility, a state of growth, and all about a total recreation. Definitely necessary.
100%. Yes, sir, it definitely is. Guys, we're going to go to a quick break, but when we come back, more on total self-recreation and, of course, branding. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
I said Shaan Ride East. I'm proud. Shaan Ride East. Leadership is not the brand they made for us.
Listen, he brought fire, heat. He didn't hold back.
20 years down the line, what I could sell, why not serve first? Service over salary. Branding like a leader closes the gap for people who want branding. Speaking like a leader closes the gap for people who are nervous about speaking. If Steve Jobs would have speculated, we wouldn't have Apple.
He changed lives. He helped people open up their business and start their business.
We are the brand. Some people say, Shaan, should I quit my job? Mentally, yes.
As a speaker too, to be able to learn from him and watch him and game respects game. And I want to have that much game someday.
The right client, pay $500,000 for what you do. You have to be bold in your beliefs.
He has been an amazing asset to this event and a pleasure to work with. Very captivating, collaborative, worked very well with the audience.
I want to help you. Put a 0 behind your number, right?
The session was great. How he is online, virtually, he is even more phenomenal in person.
Be the face of change that you want to see. Stop asking questions and start giving demands.
The entire team has just been absolutely incredible. They are a joy to work with. They go above and beyond.
Give yourself a round of applause. Yes. Confidence is key. Most of the people I work with, they have the education, the experience, and the expertise. We call those the 3 E's. But they're looking for the 3 I's, the income, the impact, and the independence. And I always tell them that the bridge between the 3 E's and the 3 I's is marrying your confidence to your competence. Most of the people I work with, again, have all of the competence in the world. What I help them do is get the confidence.
Welcome, guys. So we are back, and Bobby, I really love that short clip by Shaan. I was just about to write down having the confidence to total self recreate. What does that actually look like, and how often do you do that? That's something that I do every few months, man. Every few months, I do like this social audit or audit of myself, where I audit everything, like my relationships, my commitments. Just things in your life. You have to audit, man, because if you don't stop to check where you're going, you might end up lost. You might end up lost. And then sometimes you think you're doing good, but then you realize, hold on, like I'm not doing nearly as much as I think I can actually do. So for me, that's what I'm all about every single day. And I know a lot of business owners, while actually looking to get to that $1 million, like, guys, the person who took you where you are right now is not the person who's going to take you to that $1 million. You definitely have to total self recreate, do something different, become somebody different, embrace a new ideology, a different way of moving, a different belief system, whatever it is. You have to embrace something new to become somebody new. And like I say, Bobby, you have to be so you can become. So what are your thoughts on that?
I do something similar, but I'm not sure if I do it as often. I think I do mine every 6 months. So I do it on my birthday, and I do it at the beginning of the year. Now, I just so happen to be a Gemini, a June-born individual, so it kind of works out that way. So in the middle of the year, I'm turning my next age, I'm turning my next year, and at the beginning of the year, it's been 6 months since I've had a birthday. So for me, what I normally do is at the beginning of every year, like at the end of the year, I do an annual audit. So that's when I'm just, okay, who have I been this year? Who was I supposed to be this year? And how close did I get, right? And then when I do a birthday audit, like when I do a born day audit, I'm saying, if this were my last year to live, how would I want to live it? And my goal is really to get as close to social contribution as possible. So for me, I believe that contributing to the world, contributing to society and to others is one of the highest forms of service. And I believe a life of service leads to a life of fulfillment, but a life of service also requires a life of self-mastery. So the way I look at things is, what areas in my life are outside of my control, so to speak. And when I say that, I mean things that I can control that I don't. So there were times in my life where my eating was out of my control, but it's something I could control. So I said, okay, we got to eat better. At a time in my life, it was food, or excuse me, not food, but it was my weight. So the food was one of them, but then the weight was another one, but they kind of worked together. So I was like, my weight's not what I want it to be, but it's something I can control that I'm not controlling. So for me, it's really a matter of self-mastery, self-discipline, and self-realization. So that's how I do it.
Interesting. I love the concept of self-mastery, Bobby. I absolutely love it. I've been obsessed with self-mastery ever since I was a little boy. I don't know, I always knew that concept. It's something that I've always been obsessed with for some reason. And in many ways, like on a higher level, I really feel like we were put here on this, spinning ball or this spaceship in the middle of nowhere in space to achieve self-mastery on multiple levels. I really believe that. So it's interesting because check this out. The other day I was just thinking to myself, some of us eat one time a day, right? And then I said, okay, well, I compared the times where I did eat, like, let's say, more than once a day, and the times where I do eat once a day. Like, is there a big difference? Do I see a big difference as far as, results with like my body and stuff like that? It's not really, not so much to the point where I say, well, okay, I'm not gonna eat more than, one time a day. But then I thought to myself, there's the other aspect of it, which is the discipline part of it. So there's the things that you see, and then there's the things that you cannot see. Okay. And it's interesting because people who are high performers, a lot of the times, they chase pain, they chase discomfort, they chase discipline. Whereas people who are, let's say, average performers, they don't care about that stuff. They're like, is it gonna make a difference or is it not? And most of the times they don't put themselves consciously through that type of discipline, through that type of regimen, through that type of pain, because they don't see I would say the non-physical parts of it, like the parts that build your character, the parts that really and truly build your mindset. People often don't, subject themselves to consciously going through pain. And it is absolutely amazing because I believe it was yesterday you asked me something about growth. And I remember telling you that all growth comes through some level of pain. All growth comes through some level of pain. So I find that absolutely amazing. Now, question to you. Let's talk about growing pains. Everybody who's on it, they're looking at building a brand. For you, Bobby, what are some of the growing pains that you had in the process of building your brand?
Man, one of the biggest growing pains that I had was awareness and consideration. Awareness and consideration. So when you're building something that you've never built before, and it's something as big as a business, it's something as complex, as a brand. Like a brand has its surface components, and then it has its integral components. So for me, one of the most challenging things was being self-aware through the process, because you're working hard, guys. I know you're working hard right now. You're working hard. And when you work hard, like really hard, it's very hard to be aware of how your wear and tear is affecting the people you're connected to. That was one of my biggest growing pains. I mean, I stretched my family thin. I stretched myself thin. I stretched everything thin. And what happens when you stretch things thin is they become more and more fragile, more and more fragile, more and more fragile, and then they break. So for me, one of my growing pains was getting good at breaking myself without breaking others. And I think that's something very important. And granted, the people around you that are meant for you, that are going to stay with you, they're going to have to break too, but you don't have to break them in a ungraceful way. So for me, it was just really learning how to grow, because growing pains in it of itself is difficult, but learning how to grow consistently, because you can go to the gym and hit it hard and do all the things that are required for growth. But if you don't know how to grow, if you don't know what to eat, if you don't know how to stretch, if you don't know how often to rest, you can do all the right things that are required for growth and then break your body in the process. What's the point of that, right? Like, you did all this work, you got all this muscle under tension, but you're not getting any of the results. So for me, it was really a matter of doing the work, being aware of myself as I did the work, and then being aware of others, my family, my team, and that was a big growing pain for me. But I learned, I got it right, I got better, and I'm still married, still have all my kids, I still have my health, I still have the money, right? I'm making more money than I've ever made in my life, and it came from growing strategically and not just growing rapidly. We all want speed, and speed is great, but speed without discernment, or speed without wisdom, can be just as damaging as speed altogether, or rather as moving slow.
I love the concept of speed. Speed is something that I'm absolutely fascinated with. My concept of speed, Bobby, is leverage. That's what I think of as speed. A lot of people, and maybe, and this is just my thing. I'm not saying I'm the, like, the end all be all, right? I'm not saying I'm absolutely correct. There's no other way to look at it, but the way that I like to think about it, and this is a good thing, because this shows the difference between our personality types. Because I remember you saying, I think it was yesterday, you said that you're in it for the ride. Like you're in it for the ride. You just want to have fun, and and Bobby. So guys, Bobby's in it for the ride. Bobby wants to have fun, and you don't mind, taking extra steps and going the long route and things like that. When it comes to that, I'm the exact opposite. In business, anyways. Like if we hang out, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Okay, we're gonna have a lot of fun. But when it comes to business, I'm about getting it done with the least amount, like maximum results for minimal effort.
Yeah.
And for me, that means minimizing mistakes. Because I believe, Bobby, and maybe I don't know, maybe it's just me, but if you try to do something quick, okay, you try to do something quick, and then you take, let's say, 10 steps, and then you take 5 steps back. It's like the story with the tortoise and the hare, right? So the hare is off to a phenomenal start. He's off to a phenomenal start, but who won the race? Who won the race, right? The tortoise won the race, right? So, I mean, if it takes me a week to move on something, but me spending that week saves me 5 months down the line, I interpret that as speed, as opposed to me moving on the same day and taking an extra 5 months to do the same thing. I don't know. Guys, put it in the chat. What are your interpretations on speed? Like, how do you think of speed as an entrepreneur? Because I've been in both scenarios, Bobby, where you try to do something quickly, you break something, and all of a sudden you're scrambling, trying to figure stuff out. And let me tell you something. I like maximum results with minimal effort. That's me, because I have so much to do that I don't feel like I have the time to spend, you know, sticking together pieces of paper and trying to recover broken stuff. That's just not me. That's just not who I am. I have too much things to do to waste time trying to fix broken things. So, but that's pretty interesting. I think for me, one of the biggest growing pains that I had, Bobby, is sort of breaking out of my personality, breaking out of my own personality, breaking my own personality, or in fact, developing the capacity to do that. Because interestingly enough, you might tell me to do something, and we're slightly different, but I might execute before you. You might ask me to do something, you come back and you say, "Hey, Junior, have you done it?" I say, "It's already done. What are you talking about?" There have been times where people have asked me to do something, and before they could finish the sentence, I've already done it. So I am also a master or a massive executor at the same time, but I had to learn how to do that. And for me, one of the biggest growing pains was being self-conscious enough to know, okay, this is where you need to step out of who you normally are to become somebody that you're not used to being, so you can get the result that you need. Because, Bobby, if you do any kind of garden, so I have a garden at the back of my house, and every week I'll go there, I'll get plantains, and plantain is in season, so fresh plantain, bananas, and mangoes coming back in season right now. Okay, so mangoes in season, and I have all kinds of fruits you could think of. We have star fruit, all kinds of stuff you could think. It's like the Garden of Eden. That's what I call it. All kinds of things you could think of. And one thing you learn, man, is you can't really use a spade to dig a hole. You can, but you probably shouldn't. So why am I saying this?
Right.
It's not a one size fits all.
Right.
So your personality, your natural tendency, it's not a one size fits all. You have to learn how to break out of who you are or who you're used to being to temporarily become somebody that you need to be to get the job done. And for me, that was one of the biggest things that I had to learn. Now,
You know,
Bobby, before we go to, go ahead.
no, I
Go ahead.
just want to lean into that a little bit more before we go to the break. I wrote something down while you were speaking about our personality types, and I think that if you're gonna have a personality type like Junior and be successful, I think one of the biggest things you have to have is wisdom, and the ability to calculate. For me personally, I think one of the best definitions of wisdom is the ability to see the end result from the beginning, understand what's required to achieve that result, and then apply the necessary resources in the right sequence to achieve maximum results. Like, to me, that's wisdom. But without the ability to see the end result, like judgment, you're shot, like you're dead in the water. And I think judgment is one of the prerequisites of accurate calculation. Like, you've got to be able to judge what you're doing effectively. But for my personality type, I think in order to be massively successful, you've got to have creativity. And creativity requires trust in your intuition. So I'm a very intuitive person. Now, granted, I have to be much like Junior too. Like, I'm not saying Junior doesn't use his intuition. He uses both. He uses judgment and intuition. He calculates and he creates. I'm just more of on the creative side. So I'll create, and then I'll be like breaking things as I'm creating new things. So it does require this balance of creating the right thing at the right time and having a degree of judgment about what you create and when. So I just wanted to put that out there for those different personality types that's watching this. Like, are you more of a creative or are you more of a calculator? And depending on who you are and where you are, you definitely should pay attention to the way me and Junior talk about things, because we talk about them based on our perspectives in nature. And you can definitely pick up some gems just from the subtleties.
Yeah, and you know something, Bobby? It's interesting because I would argue, or I would say that calculated people are also just as creative. Because when I think about where I'm coming from, it's a creative space. Because if you really think about it, to have the ability to see the end in the beginning, you have to get into that creative zone. You have to get into the intuition. You have to be able to literally see something in your mind's eye. It's like Neo in the Matrix.
Mm-hmm.
You have to literally see 10 steps ahead in your mind's eye. But for you to step into that zone, it's not a physical. So I'm not saying like you're trying to calculate calculating physical things. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you're calculating, I would say, mental or metaphysical realities. You're seeing a multiplicity of possibilities before they happen, and you're selecting which possibilities you want. So that is a very creative thing. It's just like writing music. I've written music before, I've written poetry before. I know you used to be a writer. It's the same. It's like when you write music, you're entering a creative zone. Yeah, like you're looking, but you're not even looking at the room you're in.
Yep.
You're seeing something that's not even in the room. You know what I'm talking about, Bobby? Like that zone. And that is the exact same zone that I'm talking about. And we're talking about the same thing.
We are. And I'll add a point.
Way. Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really interesting is in music, you have, and this is for you guys, by the way, like what we're having this discussion about is to help you own your space, like own you. Like if you are creative and you don't, feel like you get the calculation piece right, well, maybe you are getting the calculation piece right, but don't know it. Or maybe you are a high see and you calculate a lot of things and you don't feel very creative, but you are actually in a creative state. So we're just breaking this down to give you a little more insight. So Junior's 100% right. And one thing that I will add is I feel more than I see. So when I say, creative intuition type piece, it's almost like a gut feeling. And I think when Junior has the creative calculated space, it's more like a spiritual seeing, if you will. Like he can see these things happening before they happen in all the different facets. And what I do is I don't see them all the time. I feel them. It's like I was a freestyler, if you know what that is. Not necessarily a writer. Writing was hard for me, to be honest. Like I didn't write hits very well, but I wrote great songs. And I wrote great songs because I connected with the emotion and I could feel it. So whatever you do, brand you, not what you do. Like own your space, get into you. And if you feel your way through entrepreneurship, feel your way through it. If you see a million ways down the road, don't let anybody tell you what you're seeing isn't real, because you very well may be seeing exactly what Junior's talking about. And if you feel it, but you can't see it, you can't explain it, but you know it's right, then lean into your intuition and trust yourself. Because brand you, not what you do, is how we built the $1 million brand that you're looking at right now.
100%. So guys, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we have a special guest. Okay, yes, it's a she. So she will be coming on and she will be talking about a phenomenal event that she has today. We'll be diving deep into that. By the way, our guest needs no introduction. I'll just leave it there. So we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back to the second segment, we're going to be diving into a little bit of, I'll just leave it there. I'm not going to get into it. When we come back, stay tuned. We'll be right back in 60 seconds. When we come back, we'll be talking about it. This is Breakfast with the Brand. Let us grow.
So when you're young, mommy tells you to play nice. Play nice, Timmy. Let all of the other kids play too. But in business, it's not about playing nice. In business, it's about winning. It's about adding multiple zeros to your revenue. Now, of course, your staff wins. And when you win, other people win. However, when it comes to competition, you absolutely must dominate. You can't play for participation, and you can't play just to get along or just to get by, because business is serious. Business will help you to change the world, or the world will change you. Your people will either win or your people will lose based on your level of leadership, what you're willing to do, what you're willing to sacrifice, and how much you know about dominating. There's slow growth, and then there's scale. There's incremental growth, and then there's exponential growth. What I want to talk to you about is adding a zero to you and experiencing exponential scale. Incremental growth says 1 + 1 is 2. Exponential growth says 1 + 0 is 10. Incremental growth says 2 + 2 is 4. Exponential growth says 5 + 0 is 50. Guys, listen, when you add a zero to you, you can add a zero to the marketplace. You can add a zero to the value that you bring. So you can add a zero to your family, add a zero to your legacy. This is what we're talking about. We're not talking about incremental, we're talking about exponential. I always say that business is a spiritual game. Just imagine when you combine your skills, your values, your abilities, your talents to something bigger than you, something greater than you, something like the power of exponential. That is adding a zero. Add a zero to your competence. Add a zero to your confidence. This is about adding a zero in your life, your value, your industry, and your mission. Let's grow.
All right, guys, so we are back. And as you could see, we have the amazing Dr. Michelle D. Clark. Of course, I don't think she needs an introduction, but just for the people who don't know, could you tell us who you are?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Junior and Bobby, for having me on the show today. I'm super excited to be here. So for those of you all who don't know me, I am Dr. Michelle D. Clark, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lift After Breast Cancer, where we empower high-performing female breast cancer survivors to live inspire-free and transformed. Yep. And I mean, just really basically, you all, I'm a small town girl with big time dreams. And I definitely am happy and favored that God showed me favor and grace and saved me from some life threatening things. And because I'm able to be here with you all today. So super excited to be here in the room and super excited to talk about what we have going on for today.
Amazing, amazing. And tell us, what is that? What do you have going on for today?
Absolutely. I will not keep you all in suspense. So today we are having our second annual Women's Health Awareness Symposium. And it is going to be absolutely phenomenal because at this event, we're going to have some esteemed guests, featured speakers, either from the walk of life of being a professional healer, whether it be medical, whether physical, emotional, spiritual. We have all walks of life. And that's why we have called our second annual Women's Health Awareness Symposium Mind, Body, and Soul, because we'll have speakers that will be coming from the healer side and from those who have experienced some real life-threatening illnesses. We have a gentleman who will be speaking who survived HIV and cancer, and another young lady who survived a brain tumor. And she also happens to be a nurse practitioner. So we have an esteemed guest who is a physician down in Atlanta who has a uterine fibroid center where he helps women to alleviate themselves of those fibroids without having to have a hysterectomy. And that is huge, especially for African-American women, because we predominantly are the ones who it's almost like the first to go to have a hysterectomy instead of other alternatives. So he is leading the charge with that down in Atlanta to make sure that there is equitable healthcare for all people, for all women. And so he'll be speaking on the platform as well. And we have our very own Dr. Katrina, who will be speaking on the platform as well. She's a part of our Shaan East community, and she'll be speaking. She's a retired veteran. As a matter of fact, you all know her husband very well. So Joel Smith has been on here, and so she will be gracing our stage and talking about when you should ask for help. Because a lot of time as high-performing women and men, we're just doing. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard the adage of, well, if it's going to be done right, I've got to do it myself. Not true. And that's why I love when Shaan talks about delegate to dominate. So you do have to know when to outsource, when to delegate those responsibilities to someone else, and when to just ask for help. So she's going to be speaking on the platform. I mean, we're going to have just tremendous, phenomenal speakers. We have a young lady who is a stage 3 breast cancer survivor who will be speaking on the stage. We also have another young lady who survived a rare disorder, which is a complication from the COVID vaccine. It left her paralyzed, and she was able to regain her abilities, but she was paralyzed for a moment. Oh. So yes, so she'll be speaking as well about some of those issues and how she was able to turn that tragedy into a triumph. So we just have a phenomenal show for you all. And if that's not enough, we also have a Q&A segment so that you can get your burning questions answered live right on the spot. So it's on Zoom. So, and it is listen, Junior, this is the best part. I know you're probably saying, oh my goodness, it's probably going to cost an arm and a leg for me to be able to attend this. No, it is absolutely free. The only thing it's going to cost you is your time and attention. That's it. And I think that's more than a fair cost for you to invest in yourself to be able to hear from these phenomenal speakers and be inspired.
Yeah, listen, I myself will definitely be tapping in, Dr. Michelle. I'll be tapping in because, like, number one, we have two of our phenomenal people from the community, in you and also in Dr. Katrina Smith speaking, and also I know a few of the other speakers as well. But also what you're doing is so important. It's just, and let me tell you something. You were actually the first person who raised my awareness that men could get breast cancer. I had no idea that men could get breast cancer. I had no idea. So when you said that, I was like, okay, that's interesting. And then there are so many other things going on. It's absolutely crazy. Like when we think about our health, like the number of complications, like what people are dealing with in the world is absolutely is something else. So to have events like this, where you're making this information absolutely free, I know for a fact that there is somebody somewhere around the world that is literally praying for this. That is literally like, we take this stuff for granted, right, Bobby? But
Right.
to the people that have gone through it, and to the people that are currently going through it right now, listen, it's something else. It's something else. And this is so important, you know. And the reason we wanted to have you on it, Dr. Michelle, is just to help spread the word, because it is very, very important, like what you do, like every single thing you do. And I can't wait to have your, you know, your brand, your website, and all of that stuff fully launched, because I'll say it again, people absolutely need to hear what you have to say. Absolutely.
You know,
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
one of the things that I'll say to this is why we do it, guys. Like, this is what this is all about. So I remember, you know, Shaan was visioneering, and he was sharing his vision with us. And he was like, you know, guys, I'm trying to build a stage for you. Like, I want somewhere for you guys to come and speak, and platforms, and talk, and get this thing out here. Like, we're changing the face of leadership, one speaker at a time, one entrepreneur at a time, one story at a time. And these are the types of stories, I believe, that transform the way we see ourselves. So, for example, many people know the guy Roger Bannister, I think was his name. And he was the guy that did the 4-minute mile, or broke the 4-minute mile record. And ever since then, everybody started seeing themselves differently. And now you've got like high school people breaking it. Like, what? When before it was something considered impossible. So to come back from paralysis after COVID-19, what? To come back from life-threatening experiences, like back to back. Like, Michelle shared her story one time. I was like, man, she couldn't catch a break for like a decade. Like, my goodness, she couldn't catch a break. But she broke through. And that's what these conversations are designed to do, is to help you break through. So I'm super honored to be a part of the witness, you know, like to be in the crowd. Like, imagine Michael Jackson being on stage, and like, he's gone now, but the people that were in the stage, boy, like, some people saw some things and they were like, man, I can never do that myself, but he sure looks good doing it. And that's how I feel about Michelle D. Clark. Like, I don't know if I could ever survive half the things that she's overcome, but it's an honor to watch her do it with style and grace. So I'll end with this, you know, a bit of gratitude. Many of you all know I served 12 years in the United States Marine Corps. About 1% of our, I think it's less than 1% of American citizens actually serve in the military, the Marine Corps specifically. And the reason I bring that statistic up is because we are some of the healthiest people on the planet. And I never really acknowledged that until right now. Like, you have to be so healthy to come into the military. It's ridiculous. You can't have asthma. You can't have broken bones at certain points. If you did, it has to heal back a certain way. You have to be so physically fit, because your health is one of their biggest investments. And I joined and stayed for 12 consecutive years, and can honestly say that I am in peak condition. And that's something to be grateful for. So thank you, Michelle, for creating that awareness for people like myself that get sick every 3 years, like, that literally have had every COVID shot, and I didn't even get a sore arm. And I was just very, very healthy. And that's something that I should continue to give gratitude for. So thank you for overcoming the things you've overcome and curating a community of people that's overcome health issues in such a way that creates a lot of clarity and gratitude for those of us that just got blessed with phenomenal genetics and phenomenal health.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again for that. I appreciate it. And, you know, it's an honor and it's a privilege to be able to provide a platform where other people can share their stories. So I'm happy and grateful for Shaan for doing that. And I'm happy and grateful and honored to be able to do that now myself, because, you know, some people who don't know my story, I have had a sordid past as well as far as health is concerned. I had back-to-back diagnoses I had 2 strokes. Then I had stage 2 breast cancer. Then I had a mini stroke. And that was all within a collection of 4 or 5 years. So 2014, I had the 2 strokes. 2015, diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer. And then 2017 or 18, one of the two, I had the mini stroke. So it's been, and I'm ongoing still with the reconstructive surgery. So I started the reconstruct in 2019, COVID hit, delayed, and had some issues last year. Finally got that continued and finished up portions of the reconstruct, and just had another surgery that just passed April 22nd. I just had another surgery, and I still have some more along the way. So it is a process. It is a process, and sometimes it's arduous. Some people, easy breezy, lemon squeezy. But for those of us who have those ongoing issues that we have to continuously go back and get corrected in revisions, and not only that, even if the process itself, and now I'm talking from a breast cancer standpoint, even from the process itself and from a 2-stroke process, there's still some residual effects that plague us. You know, I still have some neuropathy in certain areas from the strokes, because I couldn't talk. I could not talk at all, you all. Couldn't use my whole right side. I was paralyzed on my right side from the stroke. But look at me now, right? If I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know. So when these types of things, and you talk about gratitude, Bobby, talk about gratefulness. I talk for a living. I couldn't utter one word. So the fact that I was healed up in 24 hours and only have minor residual effects, sometimes fatigue, sometimes like where it's blurred, what do they call that? Brain fog. That's what it is. Sometimes those are some of the residuals from the cancer and some of the residuals from the medications that we take. I could list, okay, you know, at the end of the commercial where they talk about all those things that could happen, I would say about 90% of those I'm experiencing. So some of the things that I'm experiencing as a side effect is because of the medications that's supposed to help me to stay alive. So those are the keep the cancer away medications is what I call them, but they cause other effects that are negative in my life. And so we have to still just move through. We have to still find and seek and grab and create those opportunities for quality of life. And if I can provide a platform where others can share their stories, and this time, because it's Women's Health Awareness Month, for those of you who don't know, that's why we're doing this. And it's also Mental Health Awareness Month. I'm a licensed mental health therapist. So we're putting it all together on this one platform for our 2nd annual Women's Health Awareness Symposium. So that way we're not just talking about breast cancer, which is what I stand for, but I also stand for all of health, meaning I want, for this 1 month, I want us to be able to have conversations about health for women. And when we have this conversation today at noon Eastern Standard Time, I don't want it to end there. I want us to continue to have the dialogue. So even though we're focusing on that today, I want us to remember what we've learned, what you've gathered from what you're going to hear today, and take those conversations back to your community. That way, and if you already have a platform, even better. Have your folks come and hear this so that it can spread out. Each one reach one, teach one. So just like what happened to me didn't just happen to me, it happened for me, so that way it can go through me. I can reach back now and help someone else. I can share my story and impart upon some lessons that I learned so people can learn vicariously through me. And so that way they can hear some of the telltale signs of, I think I need to go get a checkup. I think I need to have my, as a matter of fact, let me say this really quickly. I reached back to one of the ladies who attended my Celebration, Elevation, Transformation brunch for female breast cancer survivors and supporters back in March. I texted with her yesterday just to say, hey, how are you doing? You crossed my mind. And she said to me, Michelle, I was in tears when I left your event. I was so proud of you. I was so excited, and the information, and you inspired me. I hadn't gotten a mammogram in 30 years, and I went and got one.
Wow.
So even if, I just got a shiver. Thank you. Even if just one person can be impacted and take action on the information that they hear, that's one life that's saved. And that's one life now that can radiate out now, just like a pebble in the water. You throw that one pebble and it goes in and it just radiates outwards. That's why we do what we do. And that's why I'm happy and grateful to provide the platform today for the Women's Health Awareness Symposium, second annual. And I'm happy to be here today that Shaan Rais has provided this platform so that I can share with you today.
That's powerful. You know, really quickly, Junior, I'm sure you have something on this and maybe taking us to a break, but I just want to put out one thing. You know, health is wealth. And without your health, what is your wealth? You know, I remember reading about Ray Dalio, and I want to say Ray Dalio he was diagnosed with cancer or some life-altering disease, and it was a false positive. But he wouldn't have been able to find out, one, had he not gone, but two, had he not had the economic resources to fly wherever he needed to get another expert opinion. So I say that to say this. Building our businesses and building our financial fortresses so that we can take care of our families and that we can take care of ourselves is important. So as you're building your business, as you're building your escape route from the 9 to 5, like you're not doing it in vain. Like, what if you were to get that diagnosis? Where can you go? What does your insurance afford you to do? Are you limited? These are the things. These are why we build businesses, so that we can have the resources that we need at our disposal if the time ever arises that someone in our family needs to be able to depend on us, or ourselves need to be able to do it. So thank you, Michelle, for creating this awareness and giving us all one more reason to keep on going.
Bobby, I love, and thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. Bobby, absolutely love what you just said. Because, guys, if there was something that keeps me up at night, it would be that. It would be that, like just imagining having myself or a loved one go through that scenario and not having the resources. Like, that's crazy. That's I can't even, bro, let me tell you something. I can't even begin to imagine that. So many people where I'm from, Bobby, like a lot of people have passed very, very recently with cancer. Okay. For some reason, there seems to be like I was just telling somebody just yesterday, I was telling somebody back in the day, and maybe it's a lack of awareness or something. I don't know for the US, but back in the day in my country, it was very rare to hear somebody, passing from stuff like cancer. That was very rare. It's like all of a sudden, it's like you go down the street, it's like everybody has it. I'm like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? That's absolutely crazy. So where I'm from, what I see going on is like a lot of people ending up in various scenarios, and then they end up have to do like GoFundMe and things like that. They cannot really afford to take care of themselves. And to me, let me tell you, when you see that around you, that keeps me up at night. I'm trying to get as much money as I could handle, like as much money as the bank account will take. Because, bro, I don't ever want to have to depend on stuff like that to take care of myself or to take care of my family or friends or anything like that, because that's absolutely crazy. That's one of the main reasons why we're trying to get it yesterday. Everything has to be done yesterday. And I tell people, like, when you're considering making a move, anything that could be done today should not be kept for tomorrow. If you're thinking about starting a brand, do it today. If you're thinking about starting a business, do it today. If you're thinking about going to the doctor, like Dr. Michelle was just saying, do it today. Do the test today. Schedule the appointment today. Make the decision today, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. You literally do not. You don't. And then every like millisecond is important.
Yeah.
Every millisecond is important. So thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. By the way, will this be streamed? Are you going to be streaming this like on your various platforms, or will it be just on the Zoom?
Yeah, well, you know what? To be closer to the heat, I would say go ahead and be in the Zoom room, so that way you can get your questions answered, because we won't be taking any questions from Facebook. But yes, we will be live streaming it as well onto my Facebook page. So if you go to Dr. Michelle D. Clark, my Facebook page, not the business one, just my personal page, then you will see the event live stream there as well. But again, like I said, we'll see your comments, but we won't be able to take any questions. You got to be in the room, right? You got to be in the Zoom room in order to get those questions answered. So make sure that you are in the room, and the link is right down below, bit.ly/WHAS, and that's all caps, 2024, and that will give you the Zoom link registration. So make sure you click on there. And I want to just double back really quickly, because you guys were talking about health is wealth. And I just remember Shaan, right, he's stating that what sense does it make to make all this money, but then give it back to the doctors because you didn't take care of your health?
Yeah,
that really resonated with me when he said that. And so we do have to do the things that's within our power to be proactive about our health. So just like Junior stated, whatever we can do now, do those things. And it's not just from a financial standpoint, it's also from a physical standpoint, from a mental health standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint. Whatever we can do now, do it now. Don't put it off till tomorrow, because tomorrow may never come.
That's right.
That's right.
You know.
All right, guys. So thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. Bobby, you have something? You have something to say, Bobby?
I do. Do it regularly. That's the only thing that I was gonna say, because I remember in the Marine Corps, we would get blood drawn every 6 months. We would get tuberculosis shots as required. Like whatever the regulation thing is, that's when we would do it. And that's the only thing I wanted to share with you guys, is like it's good, I think, to get it done, but it's even better to have it done regularly. You know, have a system. Every 6 months I'm going, put it on your calendar, let your doctors know, make sure your insurance knows, because that's what it was like. I hated the Marine Corps for that reason. No, I didn't hate it, but it was an experience, right? But it was like every day, like that's what it felt like. We were in dental every other 3 months. We were getting our backs looked at. We were getting our legs stretched out. We were in physical therapy. We were their asset. Now, granted, it's rough to say it that way, but if you take care of yourself, like the Marine Corps and the military forces take care of their assets, trust me, you'll know in plenty of time to take care of some things. So I just wanted to add that out there, because, you know, hey, if it was, yeah, I'll stop there, man. Just do it regularly.
That's right. Thank you so much, Bobby. Dr. Michelle, before we wrap up, is there any last comments, any closing comments that you'd like to say to the audience?
Absolutely. I just want to say that make sure that first of all, make sure that you attend today, so that way you can get those questions answered and you can hear from these phenomenal speakers, not just to be inspired, but again, to be able to take action. But the phrase that just came to my mind, Junior, was an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. So if you can prevent some of these things from happening to you, do it. If you can give this information to someone else, don't just keep it for yourself. Attend today, but also share it out with someone else. Share this broadcast out, this podcast out with other people, because sometimes it is that lack of information that can make the difference between life and death. So I want to see everyone prosper, and I would love to see everybody there today. So that's really just my stance. It's just make sure that we take care of ourselves and take care of each other.
100%. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. It has been a pleasure as usual. Thank you for coming on. Listen, guys, the link, we're gonna keep this thing rolling for a little while extra, so you can go ahead and get the link. And you know what? Let me also drop it in the chat for the people who were not able to, because it's not clickable from the screen, right? So I'm gonna drop it in the chat just in case you do want to click it. But we're gonna keep it going for a little while again. But thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. A pleasure as usual. And to everybody else, we will be back. We will be seeing you on Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a phenomenal day, and let's grow.